Welcome back to the safe house. More to talk about. More to talk about. Oh gosh. So I'm gonna say when it comes to all this talk about tariffs, I'm not completely. I haven't completely decided where I stand on it. So I just want to say that up front. What I am going to say is that Trump is a negotiator. Okay, this isn't going to really. I'm going to try not to make this a pro Trump episode here. It's going to be hard for it to not sound that way when we compare this administration to the last administration. This is not a specific knock on Democrats, but the Biden administration was not good. It, I'm sure there are some things that Biden did that I will agree with. There were some weapons that he didn't allow to Israel that I would agree that is a good thing. It was just something I kind of read in passing, so I can't really speak in detail about it. But I can remember when I read it thinking, well, that's something that you did good. But leaving the millions of dollars worth of equipment in Afghanistan, the over $200 billion that he sent to Ukraine when the Minsk peace accords seemed to have been a solution for all parties until Biden came into office. So we're not even going to get on all that, but so Trump tariffs. Trump is a negotiator. Okay, think what you want about Trump, and maybe he's not a good negotiator, but Trump is not placing tariffs and or threatening to tariff countries just to be an asshole. Okay? He's positioning himself to negotiate with other countries. I think it is true that a lot of countries take advantage of the United States. The dollar has not done well in the last 6 years or so, specifically since COVID. While Trump was in office prior to COVID, the economy was screaming in the United States. The dollar was increasingly doing better. And I don't think that we can blame, well, I'm sure some people would, blame what happened with the COVID pandemic on Trump. Whether you think he responded to it well or not, I would love to hear somebody's reasoning for blaming Trump for the COVID pandemic. But the economy was screaming, and it has yet to recover. Now, having said that, I think Trump's got a plan. Whether it will work or not, time will tell. Time will tell. But as in regards to, running a country like a business, which it is, specifically in the United States since 1871, look that up. From when our Constitution went from the United States, capital T, capital U, to all capitals, which in legalese means corporation. That's an interesting one. Dive down that one. But the United States and countries are running a business, and the citizens of the country are essentially employees. So, running the United States like a business, Trump is putting himself in a position of which to negotiate, from which to negotiate. Again, we'll see. Time will tell if this is a good business decision. But so far, it sounds like He has detoured BRICS from issuing a currency with the intention of rivaling the US dollar. Threatening to take back the Panama Canal. It sounds like the president of Panama wants to work with Trump and diminish the Chinese influence on the Panama Canal, which was evidently a part of the deal when Carter sold the canal to Panama. If I understand this correctly, the Panama Canal was started by France. And because of financial issues, they weren't able to finish the canal. And before the canal was even finished and open for business, if you will, the United States purchased it, finished it, and then owned it for many years. So it sounds like the United States is going to be treated fairly again in use of the Panama Canal. And we will see what these tariffs do. Now, it's interesting. I was researching this several months ago. Tariffs. Actually, I can remember researching this during Trump's first term when he put these tariffs on China. I didn't even know what a tariff was, hardly. Tariffs are not always bad. There is a reason why we have placed tariffs on certain countries and certain goods in the past, because it has served the United States well at different times. I would say there is an appropriate time for a tariff, and there is not an appropriate time for tariff. Probably if there's a product or a good that the United States doesn't or has no interest in producing, it would be silly to place a tariff on that product from a certain nation because there's no competition there. But a tariff can give business owners the incentive to open businesses in the United States, to produce goods in the United States. It can create jobs for Americans. And remember, we talked about this in multiple videos, but in my last video, the president is elected to serve the country of which he's elected in. Donald Trump was elected to serve the United States. That doesn't mean that he can't have good foreign policy that's beneficial to other countries. But he is elected to first and foremost serve the United States. So, if you go back and you look at the tariffs under McKinley, and even before McKinley was president, he was pro-tariff. I think he was governor of Ohio. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while. But they had tariffs on all imported goods in place of an income tax. And so when you listen to an economist talk about how tariffs are going to be bad for the United States because prices are going to go up, and they don't mention replacing an income tax with tariffs, with universal tariffs, you might say, then they're giving you a line of horse shit. Okay? Trump has talked about replacing the income tax with tariffs. So we'd have to have all the correct information to calculate. But sure, maybe prices go up, but you're not paying income tax. So we would have to look at the difference between what you would pay in income tax and what you would pay for what you would pay with a higher price on certain goods. But you also have to remember, if we were creating jobs in the United States and everybody in the United States, there was better employment and people were making more money, you're increasing the value of your dollar and people can afford to pay more, particularly when they're not paying income tax. This is a revenue for the federal government, like income tax. So I I again was on YouTube and the internet reading articles and watching some videos of different economists talk about it. And many economists did not mention the idea of replacing an income tax with universal tariffs and or specific tariffs. So again, maybe this is not going to prove to be a good idea. But it's, a lot of it out there on your people that oppose Trump, that think Trump is just some kind of racist narcissist that is trying to sabotage America, which is really silly, in my opinion. Again, maybe it won't work, but this is an attempt to better the economy in the United States. Not to mention, I'm not sure if I'm for this, but we've talked about if you want to play ball with the big boys, this is just the way it goes. This is nature of the beast. We're in trying times right now. Geopolitics is quite interesting to say the least right now. With BRICS and all the countries that are trying to join BRICS and strengthen these coalitions, the fragile situation the world is in right now, I can only imagine that Trump is looking for a way to gather federal funds to build the United States war machine. Again, it's hard for me to get behind that because I really don't want to see war, but you'd have to really trust our potential adversaries like Russia and China specifically. You would really have to trust that they didn't have global ambitions. So there are a lot of people out there that say, I don't want to see us hurt China or try to be bigger and greater than China. Well, you be ready to give up a lot. Be ready to give up a lot because the abundance that people enjoy in the United States, believe me, has something to do with a giant fucking navy, with a giant fucking military. There are many reasons why the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. Why it has been, even with extreme inflation, still holds the position as the world's reserve currency. But one of the biggest reasons is because we have a giant military, the United States does. And, for any, lack of a better phrase, banana republic, the world's reserve currency is not a Dominican peso, because it would be a lot easier for a bigger, badder country to come in and overthrow that government and make that Dominican peso a coupon. It's confidence in a currency that gives its value, that creates value in that currency. People are very confident in the United States dollar because if the United States wanted to, there are few countries in the world that they couldn't come in and turn to flipping glass if they wanted to. I most definitely would not be for that, but this is what gives currency value. So if you're ready to give that up, then I'd say you have a pretty good place. You come from a pretty good place to make the argument that we shouldn't jockey for continuing to hold the world's reserve currency. But that's what all this is about. Increasing the value of the dollar, strengthening the military to hold that position, looking at the resources and strategic location of Greenland, looking at not taking Canada's sovereignty away from it, but essentially becoming one when it comes to currency and business and production. Same with Mexico. So again, we're seeing the things that come with being the big bad stud on the block. This is just nature of the beast. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just trying to say it how it is. So, tariffs can, and there's plenty of history out there. Yeah, so getting back to a point I was going to make earlier. I studied this several years ago, learning about tariffs. And if you do some quick Google searches now and or YouTube searches, you're getting a whole different list of articles and videos to watch. You put in tariffs, you don't even mention the word Trump, and all these articles come up about Trump and how it's a bad idea. That should be telling to you. Dig deeper. Okay? Tariffs have served the United States well at different times. It depends on what you tariff, how much you tariff, and from whom you tariff. So time will tell. I think personally, Trump understands business. It's going to depend on how other countries and world leaders react to it, sure. But it sounds like he's already getting some good positive responses from other countries. Now, maybe you don't care for the United States to be the superpower in the world. I would say I commend you for that. I'm somewhat there myself. But if you're not for that, and if you're ready to live in the country that isn't, just know life's going to change for you. Life's going to change for you. I know what it's like to live in a country that is not a superpower. I know what it's like to see a different standard of living that you seldom see in the United States. I mean, there ain't no Section 8 housing in the Dominican Republic. I think there is some welfare aid to some degree, but I can almost promise you, you've not seen the poverty level in the United States that you see here. And like, I've not been to Haiti, but I have studied the situation in Haiti, and I can almost guarantee you that for people that are really in poverty in the Dominican Republic, that are living at the lowest standard, you keep your tools in a shed that's nicer than a lot of the dwellings that some of these people are living in. So if you're ready to really understand and experience a different standard of living, then that's great. But if you don't want to give that up, well, I'd step back and try to take a different perspective, or the perspective that if you want to maintain this standard of living, you want to maintain the abundance that Americans experience, well, you're going to have to play ball. You're going to have to compete with countries like China for Greenland and their resources and their strategic location. This isn't just Greenland sitting out there without any attention from anybody else in the world, and Trump's like, hey, we want you. No, China's got the same ideas. Russia has the same ideas. It's very strategic. It's chock full of natural resources and minerals. The Northwest Passage, all of this is, all of this is a part of the game. We've talked about this before. This is just nature of the beast. And to be quite honest with you, I think that few Americans are really willing to park their SUVs their big giant gas guzzling Suburbans and their big giant diesel dually trucks that they drive to the store to buy a gallon of milk very easily and willingly. So there's more to cover. We'll get to it. I'm trying to get caught up. I've learned that YouTube has some guidelines that you can and cannot say certain things. So like, subscribe, comment below, hit the notification button. Until next time.